Good evening, Dr. Zarour. Again,
Good
today
evening.
Dr. Zarour is with us again with the short circuit of a global newsline. Again, we're going to have the same topic, which is taking the attention of everyone in the world. It's a global issue, and I am not seeing any solution to it. So much confusion, so much delayed actions, and confusing action. One party is more confusing than the other, in my opinion. But of course, we would like to know about you, what you think, what happened in the first session of the negotiation in Pakistan between USA and Iran.
Well, good evening, and thanks for having me again. I mean, these talks have been open, and of course, some of them behind closed doors. We don't know exactly the full details. However, I think the last meeting, which broke down last Saturday, gave an opportunity to the White House to rethink, recalibrate, talk to different players in the region, from Russia to China to the Gulf states, which they have a lot of impact on the president's policies and outlook. I'm sure he was briefed by his team. Like I said, too many players in the region. They have too many interests, sometimes conflicting interests, and the US has to manage all these interests. We talked about a wild card in the region, and that is the Israeli government, the current Israeli government, and the groups that belong to Iran, which could be the Houthis, Hezbollah, and others in Iraq that are heavily influenced by Iran. Those are wild cards, and they could throw a monkey wrench in any proposal or negotiations. We have seen the breakdown of the negotiations a few days ago, Saturday of last week or week before. That gave an opportunity for both teams to go back to their capitals, rethink, regroup, re-strategize. And now, because of that kind of impasse, some people called it failed negotiations. I think that was an impasse. I think was a break to go back to their own individual capitals and rethink some of the policies. Because in negotiations, as you probably know, uh, new issues resurface. Old issues are negotiated again. They also resurface, which allows the new both teams with new players to rethink and recalibrate some of their policies and positions. So now we do have an opportunity, a better opportunity than last week, to reach an agreement. It seems that the Pakistani leadership are signaling good outcome, positive, warming up to the situation. The Trump administration has already dispatched our negotiating team, and certainly the president has hinted several times publicly and on his social media if there is a possible deal, he's willing to fly to Pakistan and be in a ceremonial process if the deal is reached.
Together on Lantern Street, they share stories about kindness, patience, gratitude, and growing just a little better every day. This is Siman Studio TV, where every family has room for one more friend, and these are the stories from Lantern Street.
You think the president will go also there to
Well, as you
Pakistan?
know, President, President Trump likes to take credit for everything that's positive, and if it's negative, he said that openly. He said if things fail, he will blame JD Vance. He did say that openly, and if it's successful, he'll take credit for it. Well, the president, I think he's in need of achieving a victory because Congress is evenly divided against his the war. 60 days where the president is allowed to take the troops 60 days outside the country. Today we are number 50. So we have 10 days to go before the Trump administration reaches an agreement.
Yeah,
If it is
it seems like that Mr. Trump really wants some way of having a stamp of winning.
Right, because see, the Venezuela, endeavor was very short, very quick victory. It seems victory, even though there was no fighting taking place. In that
Mm.
situation, it was he claimed victory because he was negotiating with the vice president of Venezuela. He had people on the ground that did not like Maduro, so he was in touch with people on the ground. In Iran, he thought maybe 1 or 2 days of fighting the Iranians will surrender, wave a white flag, and he will claim victory. It turned out to be
Did not happen. Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot
it did not.
harder. So, but he has to show something on paper. He criticized Biden and Obama for not reaching a good deal from his perspective. Now the world is waiting, especially Congress and American people are waiting to see what kind of agreement he will reach. And hopefully it's better than the Obama 2015 agreement.
Yeah. Hopefully, I think that was a great agreement, and I think it was going to bring peace on a long-term basis and also allow Irani people to progress economically. Because if economically the people are not stable, then it is very hard for a country to offer peace internally and outside. And then the negative activities take over, and the negative element take over and take the advantage of the position of the situation at that time. One question that I have, I don't know whether you know or not, that I heard in the news that after the negotiation in the first session, JD Vance, either he called or he received a call, and then he quickly decided to leave because the decision of leaving like very quick out of nowhere, like within an hour, everybody left. Is that true or something going on over there? Or who was the person on the other side?
Well, I mean, clearly, Jared Kushner and Scott Witkoff, they are in direct communication with Netanyahu. And because they were about to reach a deal, marginalizing Netanyahu, that's what, erupted into the secession or the breakdown
Mhm.
of the negotiations. It was sudden. People were surprised. I was surprised
Me
because
too.
things
Yeah.
were going so well for 21 hours. They were positive. Both sides are talking to each other the first time since 1979. That was positive, sitting in one room together. That was positive. And it was the Pakistani leadership that just basically mediating, but at the end, doesn't have to mediate because the two sides were warming up, they're being cordial, working things through. And it was sudden that and like I said on your show, JD Vance had to go to Washington and consult with the
So who
president.
does not want peace here?
Well, it seems the Netanyahu government doesn't want peace. The White House is divided. Actually, the White House is even divided whether they want to pursue peace or continue the war. Like, for example, the Secretary of War, Hegseth, he wants to continue the war because he looks at it from a religious perspective, religious lens, and he
Hmm.
thinks this is in scripture, and he wants to fight this war. He has the upper hand, he thinks. So people are divided in the White House. The Trump team is divided, but the Trump team, I think, realized that a war doesn't answer all his questions, and an agreement, political agreement, should be reached instead of the battlefield deciding the outcome.
So he want to take the revenge of the Persian defeating the Roman Empire.
We don't know what's in his head, Hegseth. I think Hegseth has a lot, going on, and certainly, yeah, I mean, when you change the entire name of the Pentagon from Secretary from Department of Defense to Department of War, the outcome you're going to have war. That's what you want. You designed the Ministry of Defense or Secretary of Defense into Secretary of War. You are designing, you're planning some sort of outcome. Venezuela was a quick victory. Cuba, hopefully not, but maybe next, because the Trump administration want to show victory to the American people when he asked for $200 billion increased budget for the defense for next year, 1.5 trillion. He has to show some positive outcome. So far, that hasn't happened.
So, what is your prediction? What is expected result of this new negotiation, which is probably going to start pretty soon?
Yeah, I think Wednesday is the deadline. They have to
Hmm.
reach an agreement by Wednesday. I think they have reached an agreement on some potential work framework of resolutions where the nuclear program, at least the powder, the uranium, that will be handed over to Pakistan. The Pakistanis has agreed that will take it, that will handle it because they already have nuclear weapons. Russia was the primary recipient of that
Hmm. I
uranium.
heard Russia, yes.
Yeah, but now it's Pakistan. Pakistan has agreed that they will take over the uranium because
That's a news to me, actually. Ah.
yeah, well, it's true. So the Pakistanis offered themselves as and again, the Pakistanis have really won the favor of the White House. The White House trusts the new general, trusts the leadership.
Mhm.
He thanked them publicly so many times. You know, Mr. Trump is not shy about blaming people. He's also not shy about praising people. So in this case, the last 2 or 3 weeks has been praising the Pakistanis.
Mhm.
Hopefully, the Pakistanis are able to get a some sort of economic development package from Washington. That's is the hope I think they're banking on. But I think now my prediction is, as that's the question you asked, the prediction for me is they're not gonna reach everything at this time, and in this time the president is not planning on or threatening to carp a bomb Iran back to the old Stone Age. He kind of calmed down a little bit. He realized this is seriously serious, and he has backed away from that. The threat he was on Fox News yesterday, I believe, and
Mhm.
he made similar threats against Iran again, but it was not as severe. People just kind of ignored it because it was the temperature was much lower at this time because they seem to be in agreement on some issues, except the long range missiles and support for Iran's clients in the region, including Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen.
Mhm. What is the what kind of contribution is coming from China and Russia? Are they fully supporting Iran, or they are kind of watching only from sideline?
Well, I don't think they're watching in silence. They are really participating. They're pushing the Iranians a little bit to reach a deal because Iran, the current situation, China is suffering a lot economically, and they need to see this going away. At the
Mhm.
same time, the Chinese want this to drag on a little bit, and Russia wants to see this dragged on to kind of deplete some of the U.S. resources and economic resources, certainly military resources in Iran, like Russia is suffering in Ukraine. But at the same time, it's too dangerous. It's in their backyard. They want to see this end right away.
Mhm.
But at the same time, they're dividing the U.S., the alliance between the U.S. and Europe. So that's working pretty good for the Chinese and Russian perspective. So certainly this will drag on. I think they will not reach a final agreement now. I think they will postpone or reschedule future talks to address the remaining point of contentions.
Mhm.
Eventually, they will reach an agreement, but it's not going to be this time.
But then again, it brings through the same question: who's the real broker, U.S. or Israel?
Well, Israel manipulates the talks for its own advantage. They have done that the same day they stopped the war in Lebanon. The Israelis bombed Lebanon the same night. Even though Mr. Trump kind of cornered Netanyahu not to bomb Lebanon, he continued. In fact, yesterday they destroyed some churches in Lebanon,
Mhm.
defaced an image of Jesus in some of the villages in southern Lebanon, Christian village. So just to show the U.S. the Israelis could do whatever they want to do, and the public opinion or members of Congress are behind that
But
those
any
activities.
peace is going to hurt the Israeli plan.
Yeah, the Greater Israel
So you
Project.
think they're going to hold on to it, or they're going to do some effort to make it fail again? Because that will again create another issue. So this issue is not going to go away until somebody is really talk about the real big gorilla sitting in the room, and room is really getting smelly.
Yeah, the room is getting very crowded, certainly very dangerous. The Israeli society is divided. Some want to continue the war in Lebanon and Palestine and Yemen and beyond. And others are saying, well, we cannot do this on our own. We have to get the blessing of Washington. And Washington has stopped the blessing as of last week, especially in Lebanon. They said, we cannot continue supporting that. So there's a 10-day ceasefire in Lebanon. Is it holding? Again, the wild card will be the Israeli public. The generals are not on board with Netanyahu to stop the war. The public is not behind Netanyahu to stop the war. But Washington says, Trump specifically said to Netanyahu, this war has to end or it has to stop. Let's start negotiation. So Lebanese ambassador will be negotiating with the Israeli ambassador in Washington this week.
Who's talking about Gaza?
Nobody's talking about Gaza except some European capitals. Spain is talking about Gaza, but Gaza has been a forgotten conclusion, a foregone conclusion for now until the Israeli allows the talk to continue.
Because
Which
these two real estate agents, which are part of the negotiation, they want to develop a French Riviera in that area, and they want
yes,
to change the land of what we call the land of profits into a land of Dubai
but yeah,
style lifestyle.
yeah,
And you think that will be tolerated by the traditional way of people who want to live there in peace?
I don't think so. I think the Trump administration with the Board of Peace has bitten a lot more than they could chew. I mean, to join the Board of Peace, you have to pay $1 billion. The Board of Peace does not produce peace. It hasn't produced peace yet. It has only produced war, displacement, destruction. I think the issue of Gaza, once Congress is replaced by mostly Democrats in November,
Mm.
that issue will resurface again. There's just public debate, public opinion in the US and around the world has shifted in favor of the Palestinians. That is very hard to undo. 153 countries has recognized the state of Palestine as an independent state, and that's very hard to ignore on an international level. Uh,
But they have been ignoring all kind of laws, so they really don't care about those countries who are just talking about it. They don't have any fang to act.
They do not, but again, everything starts diplomatically and it goes from there. Then it goes to the economics and possibly military assistance. So for now, we're dealing with diplomats around the world who are in favor of this. This is a long-term solution plan for them because the Israeli plan, Greater Israel, will create more animosity, more destruction and diseases in the
In
world.
my opinion, I can tell you my opinion that whatever the peace happens, it will be very, very unstable and flammable. Anytime it can be, it will break for any small reason, and we know that who's going to break it. Everybody knows, and nobody is talking about it. What is the permanent solution? It has been almost 80 years. People are suffering in that area and all over the world, actually. Economics and countries are, suffering, and the people are suffering, living in poverty for almost 80 years. And this thing is keep going on and keep going on. So it seems like that somebody want to really, really not willing to have peace, but until they do it their way.
Right. It's very hard to impose your will on the local people. We tried that in South Africa for 300 years. It failed. We tried that in East Timor. It failed. We tried that in Sinai. Of course, Israel occupied Sinai for a while, and that took a 1973 war to reach a peace agreement. I think the Israeli military is exhausted. Public support is no longer there for the Greater Israeli Project. I think the public opinion internationally is growing. And I think the only person that could really solve it now is President Trump. President Trump has the capability, has the trust of the Congress and the Israeli society. They respect him, and he could impose somehow a
But he
framework.
might lose the majority in the election,
He has to do it before November, or at
right?
least start the process. And he lost the Arab allies, he lost the Arabian Gulf countries already. He could not protect them. So they want to go back to the 2002 Arab League proposal, which is Land for Peace. 2002, the Israelis again did not agree to that. We need to go back to UN resolutions 242 and 338. Those have been ignored by the international community. Well, when we say the international community, we mean the US, because the other countries are on board. The US is not on board. And the Israelis found a formula very successful hijacking American foreign policy in the Middle East. They have been very successful at doing that.
because they have deep roots in the United States politics and with politicians, personal level and also business level. And
That is
more,
fragmenting. That is weakening as we speak. That's fragmenting, and I think we have seen demonstrations against, the Israeli policies against Chuck Schumer's allies in Michigan that were booed last night, last night that were booed on national TV. They're not welcome. So the progressives in the Democratic Party will do very well. We have seen Mandani, we have seen the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. So I've seen quite a few progressive Democrats who are taking the reign of the Democratic Party because the old guards are no longer delivering to the American people.
well, I hope that something really positive comes out. The other question that I have, in your opinion, who's really controlling the Strait of Hormuz at this time? And are they agreeing to open it for everyone? And also the blockade by US of the ports of Iran is bringing a lot of suffering in that country. So will they part of the agreement?
It has to be. That's one of the cards that Iran has is controlling the Strait of Hormuz. They control most of it, but not all of it. The US controls another portion of it. So sometimes they allow ships to go through. Iran wants to charge like $2 million per ship to go through because they want to be able to rebuild their country without having access to the money frozen in US banks. The US Treasury has, I think, over $100 billion Iranian assets frozen in US banks. Without releasing those $100 billion, Iran would have to find another way to, make ends meet, to deliver their
Hmm.
services to the Iranian people. So they're kind of controlling partially
You
the
think
whole.
Israel and US will ever pay the reparation of the illegal war?
Of course, they never have. They only did it in Germany. That was for a lot of different reasons, but they have not done that in Iraq or Afghanistan or Sudan or Yemen or Syria.
Which institution has the authority to make that happen? UN is totally um, useless in this situation. They have never find a solution for
Right,
for
right.
such
Anytime Yeah, anytime the US freezes other countries' assets, we don't know what happens to that money. Does that money go back to its original owners or not? I have no idea. But I think people behind the scenes, behind the mask, they control the deep state. They control those decisions. They make those decisions happen. It's not up to me or you. So the deep state in this country, in the US especially, are the ones that control, manipulate information or misinformation. And basically, they have consensus among themselves whether country X should get their money back or not. In this case, it's Iran who's struggling financially. They rely heavily on China. They rely somewhat on, used to be on Iranians living abroad, but that money kind of basically stopped. Russia doesn't have any money to buy with cash from Iran. They buy drones for the war in Ukraine, but it's not enough money to sustain the Iranian economy.
right, right, okay. So let me come back to the first negotiation. You think that Iran lost because of stopping the war and agreeing to the negotiation third time, although they knew that the American always, walk away from negotiation when a solution arrives.
Well, the Iranians have, for thousands of years have used the same tactic, and that is delaying tactics. They can manipulate time, they could manipulate information. They have done that. They have not lost yet. It is a sinking ship. Iran is a sinking ship, but they still have a lot of power. The Strait of Hormuz, they partially control it. They control most of it. They control the militias in the neighborhood. They have access to long range missiles. They have not used all of them. They still have access to the scientists who could reproduce those weapons. They still have allies in the region. So they have not lost. That's what the US is negotiating
I'm
with them.
talking about the momentum of the war when the Israel have no place to go and they were bombarded on 24-hour basis. Iran had that capacity to keep it going on. at that time, and they lost of that momentum because of the agreeing to the peace negotiation.
Yeah, you have two conflicting theories. The Iranians have been trained for revolutions for last 13th, 14th century. They are trained for this belief that we are sacrificing for the motherland. The Israelis want quick victory. The Trump administration wants clear victory. Once you offer incentive, you get rid of the leadership, the other side will collapse. This did not happen this time. Even Netanyahu himself backed away from the regime. We don't have to change the regime anymore, even though he started with changing the regime by assassinating the leadership. The 52 the top leaders were killed. The first
Right.
bomb on that Saturday, I think February 28th. Well, since then, the Iranians have become more militant, more vigilant, more patience. So they have sacrificed themselves. And I think the US and the Israelis were banking on, counting on the demonstrators will topple the regime. The demonstrators now became pro regime because they don't want to suffer the same fate as the Iraqis or the Afghans. Now all of them are Iranians
This
fighting
is
for.
what happens once you take out the real leadership. The radical leadership will come up
That's
always,
what's happening.
and then
Exactly.
you will have a worse issues and worse problem on a
That's
long term basis. This is exactly what happened in Afghanistan.
that's where we
That
are now.
instead of lasting the war for 2 years, it lasted 20 years.
Yeah, that's where we
Three
are now.
trillion dollar,
Yeah, and
very
nothing to show
expensive.
for it. We have replaced the Taliban
So
with the
America
Taliban.
did not learn any lesson from that.
No, 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 no. Of course not. Not learning from Vietnam. Did not learn from Panama. Did not learn.
So the
No,
empire don't learn the lesson until they are destroyed or go to sleep.
that is the
Unfortunately,
problem of miscalculation. Miscalculation. We have seen that with Bush 43. Bush 43 in 2003, invading Iraq. He said we're going to be showered. Rumsfeld said we're going to be showered by the Iraqis with flowers and rice. That did not
it did not
happen.
happen. Yeah.
So the Iranians have learned that we cannot trust the Americans. They could pull out anywhere, even the Kurds, like the last few months. The US kind of threw the Kurds under the bus
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So the credibility of the US is not,
So same thing is going to happen to Pakistan because first time when they negotiated during the Ayub Khan time, he was also a self-made, self-declared field marshal, and his number two was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto.
Mhm,
Right now, number two over here is Shehbaz Sharif.
mhm,
Number one is another field marshal. If you look into it, it's a copy to copy what is happening. And they help China and USA to come closer. And then USA asked Pakistan to do a spy on the nuclear explosion that China did. China found out and it quietly get away from Pakistan. So Pakistan lost everything. And then they ended up depending on USA, which basically sold them and make them their a state which support them totally, not the people but the few people at the top. So they buy few people at the top and they use it. Same thing is happening now. You can see the same thing is happening, and
exactly.
and then they apply sanction on Pakistan after they make the negotiation between China and Pakistan. The poverty among Pakistanis are at the top is more than what happened at that time.
Mhm.
So I don't see any benefit to Pakistan really, even today.
Yeah, see, Pakistan has a lot to gain and a lot to lose if the
I don't think so.
negotiation.
Pakistan is going to gain anything really. They
Well,
are just being used
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the 80s definitely they used Pakistan. They used the intelligence services
and
to.
taking the responsibility of uranium is not a small responsibility.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Even China
It's a
offered.
huge.
It is, yeah, for 450 kilos. That's a
It
lot
doesn't
of.
matter. Even 1 kilogram is a huge responsibility
Yeah, yeah, it really
because
is.
that will be under attack by everyone,
That's
and
right.
then the America can
Hmm.
blame Pakistan that doing terrorist activity and supplying that uranium to terrorists,
It's
and
a
Pakistan will go under
possibility.
sanction again.
A real
So it's a
possibility.
danger for Pakistan. Nobody realized in Pakistan this is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, 1999, 99, 98, 99, 98, I believe, when Pakistan
Yes.
detonated the nuclear bombs
Hmm.
after India, like 2 days after India or 3 days
Right.
after India
Right.
did. Right away, they slapped sanctions on Pakistan a lot more severe than the ones on India. A lot more
Correct.
severe.
Right. Yeah. Well, Dr. Zaroor, we are running out of time, really. Great vision you have, insight. We definitely will come back again and we will see how the negotiation goes. And maybe next Friday, we will meet again to see, hopefully, some good thing comes out of it.
Hopefully.
Really, thank you very much for your time again.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, have a good day.
Take care.
Bye
Good
bye.
night.